So, thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. Thank you for watching this video. So, this is part 2 to the video of me actually making the wig with the closure. So, I am about to bleach the knots, and the knots on this closure they're kind of stubborn a little bit. But anyways, you'll see that later in the video. But when you make your bleach for the knots, for the closure, you definitely want to make sure that it's thick. Like you need a toothpaste consistency or a little bit thicker because you want to make sure that it does not run, it does not go anywhere. It needs to stay in that same place. Like it does not need to go anywhere at all. It does not even need to seep through. But as you can see here, I'm showing you like how it'll seep through only a little bit, and that's okay because it does need to come through just a little to cover the top of the knots, like on the other side of the closure, on the other side of the lace. And after you rinse it, this is me with the purple shampoo on it. And the purple shampoo, we all know that purple tones out orange, or, gets rid of the brass. So I actually use some Matrix Brass Off shampoo, and I let that sit on there for about 5 minutes, but I just rubbed it through. I don't know why I kept rubbing it. I just really like the way that shampoo smells, but I just kept rubbing it and rubbing it. And you guys, please forgive me for this video quality in the beginning because I took it on my phone. I recorded it on my phone, but yes, this is me after I've rinsed it out, and I'm just combing it all out, and it comes out really well. You see the front of it is like super thick. So what you want to do when you're plucking the front, you want to make sure you have some angled tweezers, and you pretty much just go in and after you brush everything back, and you just start plucking. And you want to make sure that you are getting really close to the closure. Otherwise, you may just snap off the hair like halfway down the shaft or something, and that's not what you're looking to do. You want to make sure you're pulling it out from the root because that will, help you to get rid of the dense hairline. So you want it to look more natural. And I take very thin sections after I finish plucking the first section. So you want the sections to be very thin because you want to make sure that you're getting enough off, and you want it to be as natural looking as possible. Also, you do not want to over pluck it. So I feel like starting out with a little bit is way better than starting out with too much, because I see people sometimes and their closures are like pretty much almost bald because they've plucked way too much, or they grab way too much and start plucking. I'm one that I feel like you can definitely always go back and take some away, but you can never put it back. So it's better for you to just go a little bit at a time. Even if it takes you quite a few times to do it, just go ahead and do that. And then that way you can ensure that it's perfect and you haven't overdone it. So that's definitely what you see me doing. And it's probably a little coming out at a time, as you can see. But I'm totally fine with that, because if I have like a bald spot sitting in this closure, and this is not my wig, I'm actually making this wig for someone else. So yeah, if this wig was like, if I plucked like a big bald spot in it, I would totally be devastated. Even if it were my wig and I plucked a big bald spot in it, I would not love that, because nobody's going for the bald look. If that's the case, you just shave your head. But which some people rock it, but that's not what we're going for. We can get a wig to wear a bald head, if you get my drift. But it still wasn't as natural as I wanted it to be in the front. So you see, I did go back and start doing it again, because it's, as you can see, it's still very dense. But you can see a bit of a difference. So I do go back and take those really small sections again, and I go back and I only go over it one time. If you want to go over it more than once, but you could definitely see that there is a difference when I'm going through taking, plucking some of those hairs out. If you want to take bigger pieces out and, you know, whatever works for you is what works for you, but this is what works for me, and this is how I end up getting the results that I like, in my opinion, the best results in my opinion. So I'm just doing that. I think this was my second time going over it, and I'm trying to show you the sections that I take. So it's like super thin. I want to say so thin you can almost read a newspaper through it. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm doing. Just still plucking and plucking and plucking. And this, oh my gosh, this closure was so thick. It had so much hair and the lines were so dense. It took me quite a few times to do it, to continue to pluck it for it to even look natural. So I think I'll even go over it like one more time just to make sure that it is looking as natural as possible, because like in all actuality nobody's hair is that dense, and I'm okay that the closure actually was that thick. I mean, I'd rather for it to be too thick than too thin. Like I said, we can always take some away, but we can't put it back. So I'm actually okay with it. I'll just take the time to pluck it and do whatever else I need to do to it. Also, it took me quite a few times to actually bleach the knots. They did not want to bleach, and I don't know why, but I finally got there and it turned out great. But with the consistency of the lightener, you definitely want to make sure you're not making any runny lightener, because it will definitely not be good. You will turn out with splotchy hair. So anyways, this is Nairobi. I'm just molding the hair down, and I put that on the top on the closure, and just combing that down, molding it around. And I normally like a C part. The part isn't as straight as I wanted it to be on camera, but I was really over it with the plucking, because I had to pluck so much, but I finally got it where I wanted it, and it was great. But I'm okay with that part, and yes, so you guys will just have to stay tuned for part 3 of me actually styling the wig.